Let's name this file main. But really, you can name it anything. And select Python file. Python files end with the py file extension. We should have our main Python file within our Python project folder. Now we're going to print something to the console window. Within our main Python file. Okay, then we have booleans. A boolean is either true or false. Let's say we're a student. Is student equals. If we are a student, we could say that this is true. True starts with a capital T. If we weren't a student, let's say we graduate, if is online, if that's true, not integers to a string. However, if I were to add a string of 1 to the end, we would be using string concatenation. So let's say it's my birthday, and I add 1 to 25. Well, since we're working with strings now, the result would be 251. I am 251 years old. So strings and numbers behave differently. With numbers, we can use them within arithmetic expressions. Strings, not so much. We will take our name variable and typecast it to a boolean. Name equals, call the typecast function of bool, pass in our I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to start coding. We can convert from one data type to another. Here's how. Let's start with something simple. Let's convert our GPA to an integer. Currently it's a float. I will reassign GPA, use the int function to typecast to an integer, then pass in my GPA. Alright everybody, we are moving of equals. That's the easiest way to display a variable. So you type F, then a set of quotes. The F means format. So let's say the word hello, then we will add our variable. We will insert our variable into this text when using an F string. To do that, you need a set of curly braces, then insert your variable. So the result is hello, whatever your first name is. In my case, bro. Let's create another variable. Let's say we have a variable of food. Food equals, think of your favorite food. For me, I will type pizza. Let's print the following. You like, add a placeholder. Again, I'm using an F string. Our variable of food. Hello, bro. You like pizza. Let's create an email. Use your own email or make up one. Let's say my email is bro123@fake.com. Then let's print our email. Your email. This variable, a first name, will behave as if it was this value, this series of characters. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to print my first name variable. So place it within a print statement without quotes. That will print your first name. Now you don't want this within quotes, because then you're literally printing the word first name. You could use your variable along with some text by using what is called an F string. Then an F string. So the result is, hello, whatever your first name is. In my case, bro. Let's create another variable. Let's say we have a variable of food. Food equals, think Think of your favorite food. For me, I will type pizza. Let's print the following. You like, add a placeholder. Again, I'm using an F string. Our variable of food. Hello, bro. You like pizza. Let's create an email. Use your own email or make up one. Let's say my email is bro123@fake.com. Then let's print our email. Your email is, add a placeholder, display our email variable. Your email is bro123@fake.com. So these are strings. I'm going to add a comment that these are strings. A string is a series of characters. They can include numbers, but we treat them as characters. Now we have integers. An integer is a whole number. An example of this could be somebody's age. How old are they? According to my YouTube statistics, many of you are between the ages of 18 through 24. Let's say that I'm 25. Let me zoom in a little. Your integer should not be within quotes, because it would be a string then, technically. If I would like to work with this variable, again, I'll use an F string. Let's say you are, add a placeholder, display our age variable, years old. You are 25 years old. Another example of an integer could be a quantity. You are buying a certain amount of something. Maybe I am buying 3 items. I wouldn't have half an item. This would be a float, technically, rather than an integer. We are buying 3 of something. So let's print the following. You are buying at a placeholder, display our quantity, items. You are 25 years old. You are buying 3 items. Another, your class has 30 students. Those are integers, and technically they would be a string. Integers we can use in arithmetic expressions. Float means floating point number. A float is a number, but it contains a decimal portion. An example. Let's print our price. Print, I'll use an F string. The price is, add a placeholder, display our price. The price is print. Your GPA is are converting the type function, then pass in a value or variable. However, when I run this, there's no output. So I need a print statement. We will print what is returned by the type function. Get the type of our name variable. If we typecast 3.2 to a whole integer, however, it's a string, not an integer, with the type function, as if we're taking to print name. Booleans are into types in their name. That is typecasting. Topic I'm going. When I run this program, we need to enter in data to our console window, like so. Then hit enter. However, we need a prompt. We need to tell the user what we want them to type in. So let's ask a question. Our prompt will be within quotes. Let's say, what is your name? Let's try this again. What is your name? I can type in something. Why don't you go ahead and type in your full name? Then hit enter. Now with this input, we're not quite doing anything with it. The input function is going to return some data as a string. We can assign it to a variable if we would like. Let's create a variable of name. Name equals our user input. Then once we have our name, let's print a message. I'll use an F string. We will print hello, add a placeholder, then insert our name variable within that placeholder. Let's try this. What is your name? Type in your name, hit enter, hello, whatever your name is. Let's try a different name. I will pick SpongeBob. Many people are familiar with SpongeBob. Hello, SpongeBob. This time, we will ask a user how old they are. Let's assign a variable of age equals accept some user input. We need a prompt within quotes. How old are you? once we have our age variable, let's print, I'll use an f string, you are, add a placeholder, our variable age, years old. What is your name? Type in your name. How old are you? Let's say that I'm 25. Hello, whatever your name is. You are, whatever your age is, years old. All right, so let's say that it's our birthday. Before we print our age variable, let's say, happy birthday. Since I'm not inserting any variables within this print statement, this doesn't need to be an f string. You'll want to use an f string if you want to insert variables. Before we display user's age. Let's take the user's age and increase it by 1. We could say age equals age plus 1. But there's one problem with this. Type in a name. How old are you? Type in an age. And we have a problem. We have a type error. Can only concatenate strings, not integers, to strings. When we accept user input, we store that input as a string. Before we increment our age by 1, we'll need to convert it to an integer. We can't normally use strings within arithmetic expressions, but we can do that with integers and floats though. After we accept some user input for our age variable, we could take our age variable and typecast it as an integer, which we talked about in the previous lesson. So let's say age equals our age after we typecast it, then increment it by 1. So type in your name, type in an age, and we get this message. Hello, your name, happy birthday, you are, whatever your age is, years old. So strings we can't normally use with arithmetic expressions. We would have to typecast it to an integer or a float. However, we could condense some of these steps. We're taking up an extra line to typecast our age as an integer. What we could do instead is that when we accept our user input, we can enclose the input function within a typecast to int, and that would work the same. Type in your name, type in an age, and this works the same. And it takes less lines of code, and is more readable, I would say. When we accept user input, it returns that input as a string data type. Then we just have to typecast it to another data type if we need to. And in this case for age, we do. Alright everybody, in this video we're going to create a game of Mad Libs. Not because we have to, but because I want to. It would be a good exercise for us, just so we're more comfortable with accepting user input. If you're not familiar with Mad Libs is a word game where you create a story by filling in the blanks with random words. So we're going to create a story template. The story is going to be missing some components. We will fill in those components with random words that we type in. Here's a story that I've written myself. Print, use an F string. Today I went to a, insert a placeholder, zoo. For our placeholder, we'll insert an adjective. We'll insert a variable named adjective. Adjective 1. You're going to get an English lesson today too. An adjective is a description of something. So for our zoo, adjective 1 could be expensive, large, dirty. An adjective describes something. We'll fill this in when we accept user input. For our second print statement, let's print the following. In an exhibit, I saw a placeholder. We'll include a noun. Noun 1. A noun is a person, place, or thing in English. Maybe a gorilla named Harambe, for example. Print, use an F string. Let's say our noun 1, whatever this is, we can reuse variables, was, we will create a second adjective, adjective 2. We will be describing whatever noun 1 is, this person, place, or thing. And we will insert a verb, verb 1. A verb is an action, such as running or eating. Then for our last statement, let's print I was, add a placeholder. We'll create adjective 3. Adjective 3 will describe us. Now we're going to fill in these variables by accepting user input. We're going to fill in adjective 1. We'll accept user input using the input function. Enter an adjective. I'm going to add a reminder that an adjective adjective is a description of something. Then we need noun 1. Noun 1 equals input. Enter a noun. A noun is a person, place, or thing. Then we have adjective 2. I'll just copy adjective 1, paste it, change 1 to 2. Then a verb. Verb 1 equals input. Enter a verb. I want verb 1 to be in current tense. I'll ask the user to end the verb with ing. Enter a verb ending with ing. Then it's current tense. Our person, place, or thing of noun 1 is currently doing something, such as eating. And then adjective 3, and I'll just copy one of these adjectives. Adjective 3 equals input, enter an adjective. Okay, and then we are ready to run this. Enter an adjective. An adjective describes something. I will say suspicious. Or some kids like to say sussy, or sus even. I've also heard of kids nowadays using the word skibbity. Feel free to type in whatever you would like. It is your story, after all. I'm gonna say suspicious. Enter a noun, a person, place, or thing. I like to poke fun at Mark Zuckerberg, so I'm gonna say my person is Mark Zuckerberg. Enter an adjective. That is a description. Angry. Enter a verb ending with ing, so it's current tense. Screeching. Enter an adjective. Happy. Here's my story. Today I went to a suspicious zoo. In an exhibit, I saw a Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg was angry and screeching. I was happy. That's our game of Mad Libs. It's a word game where you create a story by filling in the blanks with random words. Also, post the output of your Mad Libs game in the comment section down below because I really want to read them. I want to see what you guys came up with. And well, everybody, that is a Mad Libs game using Python. Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to show you all of the different math that we'll need. Guess what? You now have one friend. We could also shorten this line of code. You could say friends plus equals 1. That would do the same thing. This is known as an augmented assignment operator. That will give you the same result. I prefer to use augmented assignment operators just because they take less text, and I think they're easier to read. Now let's use subtraction. Friends equals friends minus 2. So, of course, minus is the subtraction operator. You have negative 2 friends, I guess. If you were to use the augmented assignment operator, that would be friends minus equals 2. There, you still have negative 2 friends. Okay, multiplication. Let's change friends to, how about 5? Friends equals friends times 3. You now have 15 friends. Then the augmented assignment operator version of this would be friends times equals 3. So, again, it's cut in half. Augmented. Then we have friends and result will 0.1 math-related functions and modulus. Now what we're going to do is cover some built-in math-related functions. Suppose we have 3 variables. X equals 3.14, y equals 4, z equals 5. It doesn't matter the result set of 4. Using the 3 point, you're working 9 is. Again, the equation is 2 times circumference. This is 65.97. If you want to round and truncate some of these numbers, we can use the round function around circumference, then round to a given decimal place. I'll round to 2 digits. Again, 10.5 rounded is 65.97. You could add a unit of measurement too. Let's say centimeters. 10.5 is 65.97 centimeters. All right, that is the first exercise. For this next exercise, exercise, let's calculate the area of a circle. We'll import the math module. We'll ask for a radius, much like squared. We can I'll use that round function, and I'll place area and the number of digits to round to within this function. Let's try that again. 10.5. The area of the circle is 3. $346. What's up, everybody? In this video, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to start coding with Python. I've also included Alright, everybody, in today's video, we're going to build a digital clock with Alright, everybody. Alright, everybody, in today's video. Alright, 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 everybody, in today's by 20. Hey everybody, this is a remake of my Python calculator program for absolute beginners. All you need to know to complete this exercise is just if statements and how they work. So let's get started. For this exercise, hey everybody, in this video I'm going to show you all of the different math that will options and operate to decide you still have negative. The percent sign is known as the modulus of 2. Well, 10 divides by 2 evenly, so there is no remainder. So that is the modulus operator. It's fairly popular to use this operator to find if a number is even or odd, because it will divide by 2 evenly if that number is even. If the Hey everybody, in this topic I'm going to explain if statements. An if statement is used to do some code only if some condition we set is true. Else, we could do something else. It's a basic form of decision making. If it's true, we do something. If it's not true, we don't do it. Let's ask a user for their age. Age equals input, enter your age. I will typecast the input as an integer. Depending on what the user's age is, we can do one of a few things. Let's pretend that the user would like to sign up for a credit card, but in order to do so, their age needs to be greater than or equal to 18. Well, we can check that. To use an if statement, type if, then some condition. What would we like to check? Let's check to see if the user's age is greater than or equal to 18. Then add a colon, then hit enter. Any code underneath the if statement should be indented. Make sure to pay attention to that because that's easy to miss. If the user's age is greater than or equal to 18, let's print, you are now signed up. If I were to run this code, I'll type in my age, I'll type 21, hit enter. This statement is true, therefore we will execute any code found within the if statement. You are now signed up. What if this condition was not true? Let's say my age is 13. Well, nothing happens. If the condition we check is instead false, we skip over this code. If you need to take a different course of action, you could add an else statement. If this is true, do this. Else, we can do something else. Let's print a different message. You must be 18 plus to sign up. I'll type in my age again. I'll say that I'm 13. Hit enter. You must be 18 plus to sign up. That's basically an if statement. Do some code only if some condition is true. Else, you can do something else entirely. It's a basic form of decision making. The else statement is kind of like a last resort. We can check more than one condition before reaching the else statement. We can add an else if statement, which we just shorten to ELIF, meaning else if. Else if, let's check if age is less than 0. Then we'll print a different message. You haven't been born yet. Now, if I run this code, I'll say that my age is -1. This condition is false. We skip this code. This condition is true. Therefore, we will execute this code. And we skip the else statement. You haven't been born yet. Let's add another else if statement. You can add as many else if statements as you want. Let's check to see if somebody's age is greater than or equal to 100. We'll print a different message. Let's print, you are too old to sign up. If I were to say my age is 111 years old, well, it states you are now signed up. The reason that we didn't reach this part of our else if statement, that's because this condition is still technically true. You do need to pay attention to your order of if and else if statements. If I want to be sure that nobody over 100 is signing up, I should probably move this to the beginning. If age is greater than or equal to 100, then else if age is greater than or equal to 18, we'll do something else. Enter your age. I am 111 years old. You are too old to sign up. So those are if statements. If some condition is true, do something. Else if, you can check something else. If no above conditions are true, you could do something else entirely. It's kind of like the default. Here's another example. We'll ask a user if they would like some food. Response equals input. Would you like food? We'll have the user type in Y for yes or N for no. If our response, now to check to see if two values are equal, you would use double equals. If the response is equal to Y, then we will print have some food. The doubles equal sign is the comparison operator. It will check to see if two values are equal. You don't want one equals because that's the assignment operator. Python in this case thinks we're attempting to assign the character Y to response. So for comparisons, use double equals. Else, we can print no food for you. So, would you like food? I'll type Y, have some food. Let's try it again. I'll type no, N for no, no food for you. Here's a third example. We'll have a user type in their name. Name equals input. Enter your name. If our name is equal to an empty string, that means they didn't type in anything. So let's yell at the user. You did not type in your name. Else, we will print, using an F string, hello, whatever the name is. Enter your name. I'm just going to hit enter. You did not type in your name. Let's run this again. I'll type in my name. And we have executed the else statement this time. Hello, bro. So one important thing that you should know is the use of booleans with if statements. Suppose we have some boolean variable named for sale. I'll set this to be true. Now, using an if statement, you can just use the Boolean variable in place of a condition, because a condition would evaluate to be true or false. We could just say, if for sale, if that's true, then let's print this item is for sale. Else, we will print this item is not for sale. For sale is set to be true. This item is for sale. If this variable were false, well then the item is not for sale. Let's try a different variable. How about online? If online, the user is online. Else, the user is offline. So, the user is offline. I'll change the Boolean to true. The user is online. So with if statements, you can either write a condition or you could use a Boolean. All right, everybody, so those are if statements. Do some code only if some condition is true. Else, you can do something else. It's a basic form of decision making. And those are if statements in Python. Hey everybody, this is a remake of my Python calculator program for absolute beginners. All you need to know to complete this exercise is just if statements and how they work. So let's get started. For this exercise, a user is going to select an arithmetic operator. Operator equals input. We will ask the user to enter an operator. This will be plus for addition, asterisk for multiplication, and a forward slash for division. You could enter more than this, but I don't want to make this exercise too complicated. We will we'll create a variable of num1 to contain our first number. Let's say we would like to add two numbers together. What is the first number going to be? Enter the first number. And let's do this with the second number. Num2, enter the second number. Let me show you something. I'm going to add num1 and num2 together. Num1 plus num2. We'll do a test run. Enter an operator. I would like to use addition. Enter the first number, 10 and 11. Well, the result is 1011. When we accept user input, they are string data types. What we've ended up doing is string concatenation. We've concatenated the string of 11 to 10. That's why we ended up with 1011. We'll have to convert these two strings to be floating point numbers by typecasting them as a float. So enclose your input functions with a typecast of float. And now we should be able to add those two numbers together. So let's add 10 and 11. And we get 21.0. Depending on the operator that the user selects, we'll use some if statements to determine that. We will check if our operator variable is equal to a character of plus. And for now, I'll write pass as a placeholder. We'll get back to this later. Else if our operator is equal to minus, we will use subtraction. And for now, I'll write pass. Else if operator is equal to an asterisk for multiplication, we will multiply. Else if our operator is equal to a / for division, we will divide. If our operator is addition, let's create a variable of result. Result equals num1 plus num2. For subtraction, it's going to be num1 minus num2. Multiplication would be num1 times num2. Then division would be num1 divided by num2. Then we just have to print the result. Print our result. Be sure to do this with each of the else if statements as well. And let's see what we have. Let's add 5.5 plus 6.9. That gives us 12.4. Let's subtract 420 minus 0.69. That gives us 419.31. Let's test multiplication. Multiply 3.14 times 3.14, which gives us 9.8596. Then division. Let's divide 69 by 13. And that gives us a really long number. So you could round a number if you would like. We would enclose our result within the round function. And we'll just update each of these print statements. This will round to the nearest whole integer. So let's divide 420 by 13. let's say that we would like 3 digits after the decimal. Within the round function, we could add comma 3 for 3 decimal places. Enter an operator. Let's use division. Divide 420 by 69. So that gives me 6.087. So we can round to a given digit after a decimal. In this case, 3 places. What if somebody types in an operator that doesn't exist, like the word pizza? Then I will divide 2 numbers. Well, let's add an else statement. If somebody selects some input that is invalid, let's let them know. I'll use an F string. Let's say that the operator that the user has selected is not valid. And let's try this again. Enter an operator. Pizza. Enter the first number, 420 and 69. Pizza is not valid. Let's say is not a valid operator instead. That makes more sense. Pizza will be my operator. First number is 420. Second number is 69. Pizza is not a valid operator. All right, everybody. So that is a very simple Python calculator program you can make as a beginner. Hey there, it's me again. In today's topic, we're going to create a weight converter program in Python. This is an exercise that will follow up the lesson on if statements. We'll convert pounds to kilograms or kilograms to pounds. The user is going to decide. We will begin by creating a weight variable. We will assign some user input. Enter your weight. We will convert this input into a floating point number. So add that cast. decimal places. Enter an operator. Let's use division. Divide 420 by 69. So that gives me 6.087. So we can round to a given digit after a decimal. It's 6.087. So we can round